All right, good morning. Good morning. So happy to have y'all joining us today. As you see, I've got these two beautiful ladies beside me. This is a great, just a great time to get together and share our thoughts. So welcome to Nancy. Hi, Nancy. Good morning.
Good morning.
And Miss Cathy Weaver. How are you?
Terrific. It's great to see you ladies live and in person right here instead of watching you on Facebook Live. So this is great.
I know. It's like, woo, I love this. So we've been talking. So Nancy and I've been on. We're on last week and talking about those what ifs. You know, midlife. You get there and like, well, what if I don't have any money? And what if I lose all my independence? And what if? All the bad what ifs. But today is a what if. What if we're prepared? What if we take action? What if we do the things that help our families, help them get through what's coming someday, unless the Lord comes and just takes us all to heaven, which I think would be rather cool. I'd just like to go that way.
I vote yes. I vote yes.
So you hear that, Lord. But in the meantime, it's the breadcrumbs we leave behind. Cathy phrased it really well in her book about the scavenger hunt. And it's like, oh my gosh. So we're going to jump right on into it because there is so much to cover. And I have to say, my dad gave us the greatest gift. He had told me he had gone to a workshop or something, but never talked too much about it. He just said, there's a book here with all my information. And he had everything. He was a veteran, so he had the numbers to call of the veterans. He had the 21 salute, rifle things, and he had the folded flag. It was just so beautiful. And all of that. And my brother, who was the executor, handled it, but he had the book with everything. So that is my goal and has been to have that prepared for my children. So I know you guys have some great thoughts about that. So Nancy, I'm going to have you start off first because I loved your little talk we had right before we got on today.
And Delinda, that is such a precious gift that your dad gave you because you're talking about it today. And isn't that the things that we want for people to say after we have moved to heaven, is to have those little gifts that we left them that was peaceful and that it was something that made you smile and it was part of your heart. So Delinda, that's a fantastic gift that your dad gave you and your family. And that's just like we were talking about, before we travel, we make a list, a to-do list, all those things that we have to prepare for. And it's no different when we are going to be traveling to heaven. And, Cathy has got an amazing book too that really helps, but it's just stopping and just doing an inventory of everything that's going on in our life and make that list about the things that need to be addressed, and just, I think people assume, and I don't think that's something that we should leave that burden for other people. I think we should make our transition as peacefully and as joyfully as possible. And it needs to be a great homegoing celebration. And so we've got, those things and to think about, consider, even if you have pets, even if you have all those types of things, you need to be in charge. So just like us feisty little people going, I'm in charge of me. Well, guess what? Do you want somebody else to be in charge when you're not here making decisions for you? And so those are the things I think talking about, Delinda, is communication. And Cathy has done a great job with her books and the things that she does because it's communicating. And, when we're babies, we find, godparents for our children. I think we need to have God, we can have something called different, for us as we get older. We need to have somebody, if we don't have a relative or somebody that we know, love, and trust, to be not just the executor of everything, but sort of the director. And so we're just, thinking about those types of things when the time comes that, everybody knows where everything is. They know what to do. They've got their marching orders. And then that way, our transition and our time will be as peacefully as possible. But it's all about leaving that gift, just like your dad did, Delinda. And, we have, again, those lists that we do, those check off kinds of things, the things that we want to have a say so in. And, Yes, us women love having that say so, don't we, Kathy?
I don't understand what that means, but I'm sure you are correct, Nancy. Yeah. Think about a list. Everybody here probably knows the next time your car is due for an oil change, and you automatically know that. Everyone knows when their rent or house payment is due. Everyone knows when they have their grocery store order ready to pick up. Everyone knows that. But when I say things on different calls that I go to, would you like your funeral live streamed on Facebook? Do you want your social media up or down when you're gone? If you don't know the answers to those questions, how are you possibly expecting the people we leave behind to make those decisions for you? Does mom want Facebook streaming stuff for the funeral? I don't know. And then they're in a new problem. Instead of making everything just like Delinda's father had done, line it up. Now, obviously, you probably didn't have live streaming funerals back then. But the rest of the story is all of those questions need to be answered by you so that those you leave behind will not be stressed out. They're going to be foggy already. I call it death fog. And they're going to be worried about the grief buffet, which all the people bringing so much food and casseroles and oh my gosh, all that stuff. And they're going to be worried with all of those details. They don't need to worry about the stuff that you can handle now. And that's why when Jesus wrote myfinalfootprints.com, he just let me sign it. It's all of a sudden, all those things nobody wants to talk about. Nancy, you mentioned your pets. Who's your vet? Where's your vet? What do you feed your cat? Where are the dog treats? What do I buy something now? How far ahead do I buy all this stuff? If you don't know how have all that written down, how are people going to just walk in your home and go, huh, I don't know what to do with that? And so you're really leaving a massive gift behind when you've got everything written out so nobody has to guess. And that's a lot of times, probably we've all experienced someone dies expectedly or planned as far as timing to get to go homecoming, as I call it. And they walk into a house and nothing's been done from a standpoint of where's the this, where's the that, where's the funeral, where's the grave, where's the cremation, where's the what? They have no idea. And that's a lot of times what causes all the family strife. We don't need that, especially when we've got opportunity. Since we all woke up this morning, we have opportunity to make those we leave behind a little more comfortable in these decision-making processes.
Absolutely, Kathy. And I had a friend whose mother died a few years ago, and they never communicated. They never talked.
No,
They didn't know
if you
she,
talk about it, somebody's going to die. So don't talk about it.
oh my gosh, but they didn't know if she wanted to be cremated or buried or what any all those things are. And even our medical power of attorneys, and and we've got all those living wills and all those things put into place. People need to talk about those types of things, having them done. What are the best ways that you can save taxes? Oh my gosh. When we leave things to other people, leave it in the most tax-free state that we can. And so, but being educated and asking those questions and finding those people that have that expertise, just like, you're an expert in your field, Linda's an expert, and all of us, find the experts and get the information. And heaven forbid, if you don't know, Google it. And so
yeah, seriously.
you
That really is the truth, Nancy, honestly. And that's why if you talk about somebody's going to die, and then of course I always get the, why do you always bring stuff like that up? And I'm like, because we didn't talk about it before, because you said, shh, don't talk about it. And so I stopped, usually, not always, of course. And they always want to know, why do you always want to bring these things up? And I always say, do you know the answers to the questions I just asked? Well, no, but I don't want to think about that. I literally just had a gentleman die a couple weeks ago, in his 70s, severely unexpected, and we're kind of waiting for the generation above him to go first, so to speak. And I always tell people, God doesn't go in order, at least not in my family and not in my world. And it just gone, absolutely accident, no pre anything. And of course, the family's like, what just happened?
What do we do? What do we do?
What just happened? And so literally, because again, we kind of wait for the generational thing. And in my circumstances, that is not how it has gone. And so I think the preparation piece, Delinda, the fact that you're bringing this up is so huge. and allowing people to think about it and not be, it's not a dread thing for me. Preparation is not a dread thing. It is a confidence thing. And that's why Debbie Miller is one of our superstar networking friends. And she has now adopted the scavenger hunt piece that you brought up, Delinda. And so with her Legal Shield business, she always says, don't leave your family with a scavenger hunt, leave them with a roadmap. And so the roadmap, of course, would be your Legal Shield, trust and wills and things like that. And it's just a matter of preparation, not panic. And it just gives you a piece that you're not going to be panicked that people are going to do your stuff wrong. But it gives the people that you leave behind a piece knowing, yeah, mom already handled that, so we're cool. And it really is, it's a comfort for a lot of people, even though no one wants to talk about it.
Yeah. So this weekend, so this obviously we're all talking about it. So my brain's been thinking about it for a while. So let me see. Do I have my stuff in order? In general, yes, but we never decided. One of the things we had not, because we were in Vegas and we knew our kids really didn't like Vegas and they would never come out to Vegas. So we figured, well, we'd probably get, burial stuff here. So, but we hadn't done it. So this, made my brain get going. So Bill and I decided so he's a veteran. So we decided we'd go out and look at the veteran cemetery here. It's about an hour outside of town. And so Alicia came over to do something and she said, "Where are you and Dad going?" And I said, "Oh, we're just going for a drive." "Mom, where are you and Dad going?" And I said, "Well, so I explained that to her. "Mom, what?
We're going to the cemetery.
I want to hear that."
We're
Picking
going
our
to the
lot. We're picking our
cemetery.
spot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So
that
what you're
is
saying
great.
is so true. And then I even asked her, because truthfully, Bill and I have not decided. So all of you out there that are lagging a little behind, I'm right there with you, but it won't be long and it will be all in place. Trust me. Some things are already down. People wear pink is my preference. I don't want flowers. I want balloons and I want ice cream sundaes at the end. So I know that part. Okay. I know the
At
party
least
part.
you took care of the things that are the most important. I love how Zoom does that. My face.
I know, isn't
disappears.
that strange?
Yeah, I really do. But I
Yeah.
love how you come up with the important stuff. Pink and ice cream at the end. So you've got it all hit. You're done, Delinda. Congratulations.
I know, but now I have to find the cemetery. But it was actually just so interesting to actually go out there and find out that we have all these benefits because of Bill's time in the service. And so that's we don't have that answered yet, but now we know at least we're on the path to find the exact answers that we need so that in fact my kids will have the layout of everything. I'd say about
Perfect.
75% is in place from, we have a will, but that needs to be revised. So I love that. And in your book, Cathy, I did print it off, your list of all your suggestions, which are amazing. And social media was part of that. And it's like, really, what are we going to do? Social media? Who would have thought of that? You, but not me. So,
Well, and quite frankly, every time I touch something around here, and also to be honest with you, every time I buy something, I think in terms of who's going to get this. And, I certainly need less than zero. And so who's going to get this? And that a lot of times that curtails the purchase of something blah, 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 fabulous, and even the things around here, I think, oh my gosh. And then of course, when I have said to my kids before, when they come over for any holiday, if you see anything on the top floor or the bottom floor, take it home and I will replace the middle floor with whatever. And they're always like, and how much do they leave with?
nothing.
And so do you want my this? No. Do you want my that? No. Do you want grandma's this? No. I don't want that stuff in my house. And I'm like, well, there you go. And so all the things that we save forever, the kids are going, don't bring that over here. So it really is an interesting thing. And it could be generational, certainly as far as grandma and great grandma's this that we treasure. The next generations, at least my family, are like, thank you, but that's precious for you, but no, thank you. I don't want it in my house.
Yeah.
Okay.
It is. And along those same lines too, Cathy, at least you're asking and having conversation about it. And they won't say,
Yes.
well, mom gave me that. No, mom wanted me to have that, blah, blah, blah,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. And so, and when you're talking about social media, another area too, are all those subscriptions, like we've got Canva, we've got Zoom, we've got all those things that are annual subscriptions, and they're ongoing. And so when you make that list of all those passwords, of all those different platforms and things that we've been spending money on, who's paying to host your website, all these types of things, somebody, I'm telling you, just by experience also, where that credit card is on certain things, even if you're shutting all these things down, whoever's doing it, creditors will come back and they will try to get anything they can. And that's another thing too, that after somebody has died, and this also, you're going to get tons and tons and tons of all kinds of paperwork, all kinds of things, and you better be wise and smart to review it, to check it, and to do all those things. Because just like you were talking about, Delinda, this past year I received some things and I'm going, whoa, what is this? And I got in touch and called somebody about it. Just for example, I got a 1099 for my husband that had $147,000 on it. And I'm sitting there calling in person. I said, where was this money sent? When was this money distributed? Nobody had the answer. Nobody had anything. Pretty soon I got a corrected one. But if people are bereaved and they're going through these types of things, not everybody checks all those dots and all crossing those T's. And think about those eras, or whatever. And I'm sitting there going, I mentioned the word, I said, is somebody trying to embezzle this money?
Well, and that gets them realizing that you're not going to be a
It does.
pushover, because a lot of times that's exactly what happens, is kick you while you're down is what I call it. And you're already in death fog, which is different actually than brain fog, because a lot of people say, oh, it's the same thing. And I said, well, not in my experience. And so the death fog thing is just like you're on a different level of what just happened and all the stuff that comes at you. You don't have the right to turn off a utility or to change a name of a utility
Or
without
your cell
someone's
phone. They won't give you your
correct,
cell phone
absolutely, without
access.
a death certificate.
Mm-hmm.
And how do you have the right to have any accomplished procedure done on that particular cell phone account if it's not written down in a will type trust document? And so that's just a whole different animal. And
we're
so
gonna
how
have
many
we're
people,
gonna have another conversation about making sure your beneficiaries have been updated.
a million
Just like you're
percent.
talking about, Delinda, updating your will and doing those types of things, and having things at the bank and everything, and what supersedes what, and
Absolutely.
that's a great another conversation.
And think about that too, Nancy. You bring up a great point. Unfortunately, a lot of times there are ex-spouses and stepchildren and bonus children, a lot of people call that. And those we have not made provisions for them being added or subtracted from any of our documents. And so all of a sudden I have let's say an ex-husband's kid, something's new wife's kid that has rights to whatever we left behind, because none of those footprints were canceled all the way down the line. And so one of since you said you printed off my final footprints, Delinda, one of the things I said is, what is tertiary? And people go, what is what? And I said, you have a primary, a secondary, and a tertiary beneficiary, first, second, third. And that's how they talk in legalese. And so you don't have to worry about what it means. You simply have to make sure that you're aware when somebody throws these words around, that you don't go, what does that mean? Because now if you're prepared, you go, okay, what do you need to know? And it's not quite so scary. Good for you, Nancy, to say the embezzle word, because it probably did get those folks on their toes.
Oh, I got it corrected one really fast.
I bet. And the truth is, both of you ladies are very detail oriented. And so that comes very naturally for you to do that. And actually, in that particular case, I am too. You may not believe it, but it is true. So I have areas where I am. But there are a lot of people and then families, and you add the grief piece on top, that's not in their DNA to begin with. And I think that's where it's helpful to find that person. I think, Cathy, you're the one that mentioned that a little earlier. Who is going to be that person for you? Who's that person
Mhm.
that will follow the dots or the trail? Who's the person that's going to, and I'm not so sure, I'll ask you both this question. Does it need to be the executor? We have an executor. I mean, we have an accountant person who is ours at this point because of some investments we've had, which are they may be gone. We're kind of getting
Mhm.
things in order. Those may be gone at the time that we pass, but that's not the same person who's going to handle the emotional stuff. And so do you find a friend, or what do you recommend when it comes to these other things we've talked about? You've got kind of the estate and settling the investments and all that's kind of like one big piece over here, right? And then
Mhm.
what do you do with all these other things that we just talked about?
Mhm.
Nancy, who would be your trusted advisor? And you think in terms of those types of terms, is it a family member or an outside the box family person, friend that would come in to help the family? It's kind of like when they do the hospice thing.
Mhm.
Hospice, if in my experience, is not for the dying person, it's for the family around the dying person to know how to handle the homecoming, as I call it. And that's why I think hospice is a very cool thing. And people go, how do you like those hospice people? And I'm like, oh my gosh, to think they have such dynamic hearts to help the family as the person gets to go home and everybody, you see the person almost ascend into heaven. It's the coolest thing in the whole world when it's done. I guess you would say, in my case, correctly, nobody's traumatized. You
Mhm.
know what's going to happen. And what do you think about a trusted advisor? I mean, who would you pick?
I know.
Does your family have a board of directors personally? I don't know.
I think as long as you touched on so many different things too, Cathy, because hospice was amazing for Marion's graduation to heaven. And that
Yep,
transition, was done with such respect and honor. And
absolutely.
you're right, as far as they're there to help any way that they can. But I think it's a combination. I think they need to be personally believers, be on the same heart level, and have the same mindset. But no, I've got my daughter is my executor. She's my medical power of attorney. She's different things. And we have conversations like crazy about, the what ifs, if this happens, what would you like? But also having those experts. I just had an amazing conversation with an elder attorney and finding out, what the ladybird document is versus a trust and all these types of different things. So I think having those experts being a part of your group of advisors, but also some people that I've got that are friends from church that are all part of, they come together and we support each other. And I think having that community, having that, those types of people that you love and you trust, um, we make the plans and the Lord just sort of goes, yeah, watch at me. It's like, but at
How's that
least,
working out for you, Catherine, is what I usually.
but but I think making those plans and having those conversations are huge. And yes, they can change because life evolves. And that's what we're talking about. You need to update some things and make some changes. It's like, decluttering your house. You can declutter all your documents and the things that you need to get rid of. And, I think a lot of it is knowing that it's an ongoing effort, but you do have that foundation and you have those things put into place that you know that you have been a good steward of what God has entrusted to you.
Mm-hmm. Very true. And of course, the one thing for those of you who are listening or watching us this morning, the most important thing that all three of us want to make sure is your major preparation is where you're going to go.
Mhm.
We can prepare in this life for these things to help our families, and that is so important. So I hope you will take advantage of that. Look up Cathy's book. Get the list, start making your list, start filling in the blanks. But the most important thing is just knowing, that you do have a homecoming or a graduation. Are you going to be with the Lord? And so I just feel it's just so important that when we talk about this end of life, to just look at yourself. Are you a believer? If you're a believer, then you're going to spend time with Jesus, and it will be a homecoming, it'll be a graduation, something that you know, the angels clap in heaven, I think is what they
And
say.
you won't have to make any more lists.
Huh?
That's right. And Delinda's bringing ice cream, so I think it sounds like a party already.
Yeah, so I just look at your heart and where do you stand, and if you have any questions about that, I would love to talk to you. Either of these ladies would, because we want, first of all, your heart to be right. That is the most important thing. And then as you look at the practical stuff of this life and on this earth, being prepared. And as you say, it's not a scary thing. You know, our kids don't really like to talk about it. Even my mother at 96, it was so hard to have that conversation with her. But she finally did at 95, got her will done for the first time because I signed her up for Legal Shield and we got it done. So there's things that you can do to just prepare, make life easier for your family, that they don't have to do a scavenger. They don't have to want to. One of the things about the passwords, I'm just going to leave my password to my password wallet, whatever, you know, that you call it. If you have all your passwords stored someplace, give them the major password and then they'll all be there. So that's kind of an easy thing because my list might be too long. So anyway, thank you, ladies. One last comment. We have like 3 minutes. So Nancy, one last comment you'd like to leave with our viewers today.
Yes, as long as you are still here, make it easy and peaceful for those that are going to be coming behind you, because you're leading the way and you're training them up. Because, you know, what we do is we pass things down from one generation to the next. And when they see how we are preparing for our eternal life, it's going to help them to also prepare for their eternal life.
Beautiful. Thank you, Cathy.
Preparation is a lovely word, but I also love the peace word. And if you are peaceful, a lot of times the items that you leave behind will cause peace because now you've made sure that nobody has to be broadsided and everything's written down, listed, no one has to guess. And so I really think that I don't have anything to worry about. Let them throw it in the trash. I don't care. Please know they have to have a document that says they have the right to throw it in the trash. So you are still needing to actually have a final document that gives whoever your person is the right to never mind about it. Because someone is going to have to do something. I don't have anything to worry about. Well, that's lovely. I don't have enough stuff to have a will. That's lovely. But someone has to say and close that final document on your life, so to speak, when you are gone. And so give someone the power to do that peacefully, knowing exactly what you want. We all know Delinda wants ice cream, so I think we're good to go.
Oh, so everybody, thank you for being here. Remember that life's not a matter of chance, it is a matter of choice. And this is where you have lots of choices and, for lack of a better word, control over your wishes. This is when you can. Let's not leave the hard decisions to the people that we love the most. And you know, the what ifs, we can face those without being ruled by them. And that gives the peace. By doing the preparation, we're leaving the peace. So choose wisely out there and make some great decisions for yourself out there. All right, everybody. Bye now. Thanks so much for being here. And God bless. I'll see you next week. Nancy, we'll be back together next week, right? One more
Yep.
week. Woohoo. All
Thank
right,
you, ladies.
everybody. Take care. Bye now.